Please join me in welcoming Dr. Michael Hirsch, who for the last time is leading our procession as the 2017 recipient of the Chancellor's Medal for Distinguished Service. Our esteemed group of named professors, including the newest recipients of endowed chairs. And finally, please join me in welcoming the distinguished leadership of our campus.
There was absolutely nothing remarkable about my friend Dan. He was exactly as he appeared to be, a frumpy, curmudgeonly widower, blunt and querulous. The only reason I noticed him was because I had no choice. Dan and I had seen each other at church at a service where the early hour drew only a modest crowd. After quite some time of quietly observing each other, Dan had had enough. One day he blocked the stairwell as I approached. "What's your name?" he barked. I told him and then moved slightly to indicate that I had somewhere else I had to be. But Dan wasn't having any part of it. He asked me a series of questions in rapid-fire succession. "Where are you from? Where did you go to school? What do you do?" Now, feeling cornered, quite literally, I decided to appease Dan by responding to his inquiries. He gave a slight nod when he was satisfied with my answers, and then he pulled a floppy, tissue-wrapped package from his back pocket and thrust it at me. "Here," he said, quite brashly. Now, I opened it, perplexed. He continued, "It's a tie, because your ties stink. You look like an undertaker. Have a good day." Now, I didn't know what to make of Dan at first. In fact, I didn't know whether to be thankful or offended. But determining on the spot that Dan's gift was well-intentioned, I accepted it and expressed my gratitude for his generosity. It was a fortuitous decision, and in time, Dan made me rethink more than just my wardrobe. Our friendship started slowly, growing over the years from brief conversations into visits at his small apartment in a senior living complex where he lived alone. Now, some people would describe Dan as vanilla, ordinary in almost every way. The Dan I came to know was an avid sports fan and especially loved golf. His moods vacillated along with the vitality of the stock market. He bought the newspaper each morning to follow current events, and he always had an opinion about them. He dressed in a lot of beige tones and corduroy. Dan was also a cancer survivor. Now, he would say that his cancer had been cured, but the radiation had wreaked havoc on his upper airway and esophagus. His neck was distorted from surgery. His breathing was labored at times. And if he got a cold, coughing fits would quickly follow and persist. And his appetite was quite poor. Dan's condition slowly deteriorated over the years I knew him. Although with time I called or visited him most days, often he couldn't get out more than just a creaky hello because his throat was dry or his supper could not traverse his esophagus. Eventually, he had a gastric tube inserted so he could increase his caloric intake. Then, in true Dan style, he bragged that he could eat in 8 minutes, 3 times a day. His pantry was stacked with cans of liquid nutritional supplement. Coincidentally, he preferred vanilla. There was much I didn't know about Dan. I never met his wife, nor did I interact with his children. I didn't know much about his upbringing, nor did he discuss his career. And he knew less about me. But even today, I confidently call him my friend Dan. Our friendship, though, although unlikely, was anything but inconsequential. In fact, it evolved into something we both came to rely upon. Although Dan was loyal to his caregiving team at a facility with which I was not affiliated, he was always curious to know my opinions and appreciated my calling one of his specialists every now and then to clarify test results or to unpack information he didn't fully understand. We looked forward to visiting, even if only for a few minutes. I showed up regularly. I didn't judge. I accepted, even admired, that he was living his life on his own terms. I held his hand. I listened. I cared. He cared. In this way, Dan allowed me to practice humanistic medicine and gave to me more than I could have ever reciprocated. Good afternoon. It's a sincere joy to welcome you to the beginning of a new academic year, to celebrate with you some of the most notable aspects of our nursing, medical, and graduate schools, and to receive new students and faculty into our community. I'm particularly delighted to acknowledge those who have been so generous to our institution in aiding in its advancement. Your partnership emboldens our stewardship of your resources and fills us with confidence each day as we meet the challenges presented by complex scientific and health issues. Our future is shaped by our past, so I'd like to play a short highlight reel, if you will, of the year we just completed, because it was quite a wonderful one. 2 monoclonal antibodies discovered at MassBiologics received approval this past year. Always looking to our future, our colleagues there have developed a new expertise in vector production at the MassBiologics South Coast facility, becoming a valued resource for our university and the broader life sciences community. Commonwealth Medicine had a most ambitious year, again contributing $6 billion in cost avoidance or revenue generation initiatives on behalf of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Soon, we will welcome Lisa Colombo as our newest Executive Vice Chancellor at Commonwealth Medicine. We wish her and her colleagues well as they embark on a bright future of service to those most in need. Our institution continues to enjoy an outstanding reputation. As a result, we've enrolled exceptional classes of learners. The match for our medical student graduates was very fulfilling. Residency training programs are decisive when recruiting our students because they recognize the superior contributions our graduates make to the patients cared for in their programs. Our graduate and nursing students are in great demand because of their expected contributions to the future of science, healthcare delivery, and education. Our scientists continue to attract research funding at a very impressive rate. We're approaching now $300 million in research support across the institution. The discoveries of our scientists are garnering heightened attention from the venture world and industry, as investments in company creation are the result of more strategic innovation and business development efforts. Drugs such as Spinraza and Onpattro, based on discoveries by UMass faculty, are changing the course of history of diseases like spinal muscular atrophy and amyloidosis. Now launched, these therapies are bringing significant resources to our institution and renown to our research efforts. As we approach the 4th of July weekend, our world-class RNA Therapeutics Institute welcomed hundreds of scientists from around the globe to discuss the importance of RNA and the future of RNA therapeutics. How impressive it was to see Nobel laureates, including our own Dr. Mello, who is so well known for his discovery of RNAi, assemble on our campus for this inaugural scientific colloquy. Just a few months earlier, at the invitation of Mr. Weibo Li, a most generous philanthropist who joins us today, several of our faculty participated in a scientific conference in Shenzhen, China, highlighting again how the science at our medical school is being discussed on the world stage. Now, what is perhaps most striking about our university is that we're being recognized for our culture of collaboration, a cooperative energy that infuses our work as disparate as our interests may appear. Great minds are creating great science. Great people are creating great culture. And great results are creating higher expectations, which we welcome. In that spirit, I'd like to now present the medals for distinguished teaching, scholarship, clinical excellence, and service to 4 most deserving faculty members. In so doing, we're celebrating the enormous contributions of our faculty to the life of our academic community. This year, the nominees for these medals were outstanding. Selecting a few among many is a most challenging undertaking because all the nominees are worthy of recognition. And I remain grateful that so many faculty make such a significant difference to our mission areas. Now, given that teaching is at the heart of this academic environment, I shall begin, as I have in previous years, with the presentation of the teaching medal. In describing this year's recipient, nominators used glowing terms: pioneer, exceptionally meritorious, talented, creative, thought leader, engaged, amazing, innovative, encouraging, gifted, humorous, tireless, compassionate, caring, committed, energetic, and helpful. Now, these words may seem complimentary when used singularly and hyperbolic when used collectively. But in the case of this year's recipient, they're explicitly descriptive and implicitly genuine. It gives me great pleasure to introduce this year's recipient of the Chancellor's Medal for Distinguished Teaching, Janet Hale. Congratulations. You're welcome. Can you please stand here? Dr. Hale, you've been described as our campus's preeminent educational champion and leading teacher for interprofessional education. In fact, your span of influence, now nearly 2 decades in the making, crosses the boundaries of our schools and extends from students to trainees to fellow faculty colleagues. You're comfortable as a preceptor for one, a small group leader for many, an innovator among groundbreakers, and a developer for all. In your most distinguished career, among your many accomplishments is your extraordinary and highly decorated service to our nation as a critical care head nurse. your tours in Southwest Asia in support of Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm, the 5 Army Commendation Medals you received for meritorious service, a Bronze Star, and the Legion of Merit as the Chief Nurse of the 807th Medical Command. Your faculty service has extended from Alaska through Virginia and on to Massachusetts. You've been lauded for your community-based efforts to care for populations served by the criminal justice system. You've created curricula on veterans' health care and have been instrumental as a teacher in our faculty development program. In a statement reflecting on your educational philosophy and goals, you commented that at the beginning of your career, you and your colleagues feared the teacher, particularly your nursing professors, who apparently believed that if you weren't afraid of them, they weren't successful teachers. However, you became inspired by a younger instructor who was quick to offer praise and positive feedback and was always there to provide support, encouragement, and very clear constructive critique, all of which inspired and empowered you to do your best with confidence in what you knew. With time, you learned that with your patients, you could laugh or cry as long as you were authentic. Rather than with dread and fear, you began to look forward to classes because that one instructor, who became your role model, made learning fun. You've incorporated these beliefs into your pedagogical paradigm. In fact, your educational goals have always been to more overtly integrate humanism into the academic and clinical aspects of health professions education and to expand interprofessional initiatives into the clinical setting. Your goals have been fulfilled. The essence of your success as an educator was captured eloquently by one of your mentees. She wrote, "Dr. Hale combines her dedication to students' professional and personal development with her passion for patient-centered care, every day fostering both the respect for the patient and the confidence in oneself as medical trainees." Janet, as this year's medal recipient, you shall receive the Manning Prize for Excellence in Teaching, a $10,000 gift awarded later this academic year by Donner and UMass Board Chair Robert Manning to celebrate great teaching. Also, it gives me great pleasure to invite you to present this year's last lecture. At this annual celebration of teaching, all of us look forward to becoming your students. It's a privilege to present you with the 2018 Chancellor's Medal for Distinguished Teaching. Congratulations. Much deserved. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Take a picture. Just stand right here, please. Thank you. Now, if you could sit next to Terry. At our institution, we're most fortunate to be surrounded by and immersed in great science. We celebrate the contributions of science conducted on model organisms and novel platforms as we understand their relevance to illness within the human condition. We appreciate that revelations from basic science bring enormous impact to translational research efforts. We know that collaboration can be exponential in its impact on research initiatives, and we endeavor to create an environment where ideas and inquiry foster imagination and innovation. Thus, it's most fitting that we recognize a scientist who espouses these attributes and, through research, brings hope to the human condition. This scientist's qualities, attributes, dynamism, and achievements have earned enormous respect and are celebrated the world over. I'm therefore thrilled to introduce this year's recipient of the Chancellor's Medal for Distinguished Scholarship, Dr. Kate Fitzgerald. Congratulations. Dr. Fitzgerald, you've been described as the leading innate immunologist of your generation, who has made numerous critically important discoveries in the field of innate detection of pathogens that have revolutionized our understanding of the complex processes of immunity. You've made several novel and paradigm-shifting discoveries, elucidating how toll-like receptors couple pathogen recognition to inflammatory responses. And while so doing, your efforts aimed at applying understanding of immune signaling to infectious, inflammatory, and autoimmune diseases promise to unveil new therapeutic targets and treatments. Your early discovery that MAL1 and later TRIF and TRAM2 were adapter proteins for toll-like receptors became foundational. Recently, you began new groundbreaking work to elucidate the role of long non-coding RNAs as central regulators of the inflammatory response. These studies explore fundamental aspects of host defense and collectively geared towards understanding the mechanisms enabling host discrimination of pathogens from harmless microbes and endogenous molecules. Your scientific discoveries represent cornerstones of translational research as they are applicable to various disease conditions that have inflammatory components. Furthermore, you're known as a rigorous and outstanding educator in the classroom who generously serves our community. Yours is a local, national, and international reputation. Together with your UMass colleagues, you've been present to the innate immunity community both here and throughout the world. You're a gifted investigator whose many influential discoveries have made you a leader who is an imaginative and original thinker in the highly competitive field of innate immunity. You're a mentor who is sought out for advice and counsel. You're generous with your time and thoughtful in your approach to those who seek your assistance. You've been described by your closest collaborators as being a terrific person who is the wonderful combination of a powerful intellect, fantastic organizational skills, the desire to work hard and achieve, as well as the desire to share her scholarly discoveries with others. Now, Kate, by virtue of your being selected to receive this medal, I invite you to present the plenary lecture at our upcoming research retreat. Now, while I've given you only 1 week's notice for this important talk, for which I apologize, this is proper recognition for one who has achieved so much while contributing so greatly to the body of scientific work for which you are so well known. It's a privilege to present you with the 2018 Chancellor's Medal for Distinguished Scholarship. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you. Now, if we could just take a picture.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm going to need you to go back to your seat because that's how we'll introduce you later. Thank you. No, Kate, you have to go back to your seat. Yeah. Our remarkable academic community is defined by and benefits from an unrivaled group of faculty members. Whether our faculty colleagues have distinguished themselves as esteemed educators, respected researchers, or, as in the next case of our medal recipient, compassionate caregivers, they all serve willingly as role models and mentors to our outstanding students and trainees. This year's recipient of the Chancellor's Medal for Distinguished Clinical Excellence, a physician who is beloved by patients, celebrated by colleagues, and admired by medical students and residents, espouses the values that are at the heart of patient-centered care. This faculty member has had a distinguished career in medicine and is regarded as a superb clinician who possesses the highest level of humanism and a great heart, while bringing calm and comfort to patients. Demonstrating a genuine interest in and concern for the well-being of all patients, this clinician uses each bedside encounter to practice and promote compassionate humanistic medicine. Thus, it's a special privilege to recognize this year's recipient of the Chancellor's Medal for Distinguished Clinical Excellence, Dr. Theo Meyer. Theo, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Could stand on the X there, please. Dr. Meyer, in your personal statement on patient care philosophy, you commit to patient care that is based on the following tenets. First, rapid access and availability to respond to the needs of your patients. Second, professional and high-quality care. And third, to accompany your patients and their families on their entire journey with heart disease, including navigating our healthcare system with compassion and dignity. To care for the needs of others is a high calling. You've established principles of practice that inspire all who care. In your earliest practice years in South Africa, you experienced inequity. Firsthand, you witnessed the underserved black community was unable to receive access to appropriate care, thus depriving them of their basic human dignity. This you never forgot. You came to our institution to care for those with heart failure, yet it is the strength of your heart that has created a program and personal practice commitment that has served so many so well for so long. You care about the quality of the health care your patients receive. You work to assure seamless transitions to that care. You know that your patients are in need of your commitment to their healing. You appreciate that kind words and gentle gestures matter. Yours is a common touch that defines the high ideals of an expert clinician. You have come to appreciate that although the heart mightily provides everyone with sustenance throughout each day, when this vital organ begins to fail in one of your patients, it's your own caring heart that they rely on in their moments of need. You confront reality with kindness. You manage uncertainty with commitment. And you dissipate fear with your calming presence. Your own words provide thoughts for all of us who have had the distinct privilege to care for patients. And I quote, "For those of us who listen, touch, and reflect, may we strive to hear, feel, and comprehend." As we listen to your words, may they reinforce the covenant all of us physicians have freely accepted to make every effort to hear, feel, and comprehend the needs of others. Theo, it's a great pleasure for me to invite you to address our first-year medical students at their White Coat ceremony in 2019, not tomorrow. This is fitting recognition for one who has cared for so many people in their times of greatest need. It's a privilege to present you with the 2018 Chancellor's Medal for Distinguished Clinical Excellence. Congratulations. Sit next to Jane. Now, because service is the hallmark of our great public medical school, let us now celebrate a faculty member whose career has been defined by a commitment to selfless service. This year's recipient of the Chancellor's Medal for Distinguished Service has been characterized as having provided exemplary service consistent with the mission of the medical school, and is described as a terrific teacher, colleague, and mentor who has served our community beyond the call, and who has served across the Commonwealth as an advocate for this medical school and for those for whom it is our privilege to serve. It's with great pleasure that I present this year's Chancellor's Medal for Distinguished Service to Dr. Robert Baldur. Bob, congratulations. Yes, thank you. Dr. Baldur, you joined the faculty of our medical school in 1989 as an Associate Family Practice Residency Director. Your service to our department is of note, and that you've held almost every leadership position, from clinical division medical director to pre-doctoral director to senior vice chair to residency director 3 times to acting chair and interim chair. Your committee service at our school is legendary in both its scope and commitment. You served for 2 decades on the Educational Policy Committee, serving as chair for a decade. During this period of time, you and your colleagues played a foundational role in the review and implementation of our Ling curriculum. You've served for more than a decade on the medical school's Personnel Action Committee, chairing this body for 3 years. Further, you have served as Director of Community-Based Education, where you have represented the medical school to faculty across the Commonwealth, having served for more than 2 decades as our school's principal point of contact to these valuable members of our faculty who are our most important partners to our educational mission. You've been a pivotal contributor to the teaching of our students. You provide inspiration through your belief and example that a physician should serve everyone in need. With that inspirational purpose, you have focused on a specialized practice that is developed with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and autism spectrum disorder. You've made an extraordinary commitment to care for patients with tremendous needs, often welcoming them as patients in your practice while serving as a role model to learners and faculty alike. In 2017, you were awarded the Allan Crocker Health Services Award that is presented to the clinician who most exemplifies a total dedication to excellence and unyielding belief in the worth and dignity of the lives of individuals with disabilities. In the early formative stages of the regional UMMS Bay State campus and the faculty transitions that ensued, you were instrumental in helping several faculty members obtain appointments, while taking an active leadership role in working with leadership at UMMS Bay State to connect numerous yet disparate family medicine clinicians in Western Massachusetts to a common structure, a Department of Family Medicine at Bay State. You've been described as one who brings good humor, a strong work ethic and sense of responsibility, team integration, and the ability to get things done with all projects assigned. You're intellectually honest and challenge dogma in the proper way, using evidence-based medicine. Yours is an outstanding example as mentor, teacher, clinician, and committed member of our community. Bob, I invite you to carry the mace at all university functions in the year ahead. This is fitting recognition for one who has served our community so well over a lifetime. It's a privilege to present you the 2018 Chancellor's Medal for Distinguished Service. Congratulations. Bob. When Provost Flott and I arrived at this institution in 2007, we recognized the need to craft a plan, a resolute blueprint, if you will, of where the collective we wanted the institution to go. Now, while there were many skeptics who asserted that whiteboard exercises and roundtable discussions would yield anything worthwhile, we did create plans that helped to define our future path and transform our institution from the inside out. Consider what's been accomplished by working together on an ambitious vision for our medical school. Our main Worcester campus now includes 2 landmark buildings, the Ambulatory Care Center and the Albert Sherman Center. as well as a thriving UMass Medicine Science Park across the street. Additionally, our physical footprint now extends from Springfield in the west to Boston in the east to Fall River in the Cape in the south and many points in between. Our medical and graduate schools launched new curricula, and the School of Medicine's class size expanded significantly. Interprofessional education has become a focal point for student learning. New affiliates and international partners have come into the fold, and several new or improved diversity initiatives are helping to make our medical school more diverse, welcoming, and inclusive. Signature research programs focused on RNAi biology, gene therapy, bioinformatics, systems biology, and neurotherapeutics have been launched and stand as pillars of dynamic and innovative science. New academic departments and resources, such as the RNA Therapeutics Institute, the Department of Quantitative Health Sciences, and the UMass Center for Clinical and Translational Sciences, as well as clinical departments in urology, neurosurgery, ophthalmology, and dermatology, have enriched and enhanced our scientific community. A strategic focus on fundraising has led to noteworthy successes, including the creation of new endowed chairs, the UMass ALS Salucci Fund, and the Lee Weibo Institute for Rare Diseases Research. An investment in innovation and business development has generated new spin-outs, innovative industry partnerships, substantial sponsored research agreements, and a marked increase in licensing and royalty revenues. As we highlighted in many ways at the end of last year, the recent decade has been one of great accomplishments for our medical school. At the conclusion of this fiscal year, we shall close out our comprehensive campaign. Over the last 7 years, we have raised more than $238 million in support of our health sciences university, and we're confident that we'll surpass the $250 million goal well before the end of the campaign period in June. Now, for those of you who are interested in continuing campaign participation, worry not, because there's much more to accomplish. It won't be long before we initiate the new Pathways of Promise campaign. This medical school is too important, dynamic, and effective in Worcester, throughout Massachusetts, across the nation, and around the world for us to be content with what is. All of us must come together to commit to what could be. To that end, we've embarked on another strategic planning exercise to examine why we do things and how we do them. As a community, it's imperative to challenge ourselves to be at the leading edge of educational innovation, basic science and translational discovery, efficient and effective business practices, and community and global influence. Our planning process this year will confront impediments to change, challenge the status quo in all areas, and uncover new models and strategies to fulfill our mission areas. Disruption will be the only constant. We must embrace it, leverage it, and benefit from it. I look forward to this time next year when I'll be able to share the fruits of our collective efforts. Often I've told the story about the mysterious words that were written on the chalkboard in the Patton B Auditorium at Tufts on my first day of medical school. Written there was grants, pages 68 to 73. Our new class wondered why the board had not been wiped before the welcoming speeches had been delivered. When the anatomy course director took the stage at the end of the welcoming ceremonies, he informed us that our assignment for the evening would be to study the anterior thigh as displayed in Grant's dissector on or near those pages. Medical school had begun. That was the fall of 1977, and a great day it was for me. But it was a much different time. There were no cell phones, only the earliest of computers, no internet. We bought actual physical textbooks and used reference books because there was no Google or Wikipedia. AI were two letters that were 7 spaces apart in the alphabet and fostered no indication that together they could revolutionize how we could meaningfully improve the practice of medicine. We carried journals in our pockets on rounds and looked through microscopes at sputum and urine samples. CAT scanners were just being purchased by hospitals, and MRI and PET technology were still ideas in development. Now, although it may seem like ancient history to some of you, the body's anatomy has not appreciably changed since then, and medical students still have a great deal to learn. Still, we cannot educate our learners as we did in 1977. The students have spoken and will continue to make their voices heard. Large lectures are a thing of the past. Computer-assisted technology can greatly augment the memory capabilities of our brain. Electronic records and their embedded warning systems can assist us with the ordering and prescribing of many more therapeutics. And digital technologies can assist us to provide sophisticated care in more than inpatient settings. Thus, our educational offerings are in need of reformatting. Change is constant in the curricula for health professions, but this time, as we consider our approach to the future of education, essential change is in order. I therefore look forward to working with our educational leaders to study new opportunities within and approaches to medical and nursing education. We must commit to supporting our students in these efforts as well, partnering with them as though they are our junior colleagues and asking for their assistance in areas where they are more facile. After all, a career in medicine is a commitment to lifelong learning and a humility, and we'll all be better positioned to learn if we work together. The same is true when it comes to our research endeavors. Assembled on this campus and throughout our medical school is a critical mass of some of the most talented scientists in the world. Your unrelenting thirst for knowledge is the hallmark of a hub of scientific inquiry and innovation. We have the benefit of being together at a great university where research support is substantial, and the importance of recruitment and retention of the finest scientists defines our future. That said, there are some limitations to what we do, be they the caprices of external funding or the capital necessary to foster cutting-edge technologies. Appreciating this constrained reality is important, but as we think about the future, it's this institution's research potential on which I hope we'll focus. How shall we organize our scientific activities? What funding do we need to attract? What facilities or improvements are essential to our success? What are the human resources that we'll need to attract? And what financial resources will be necessary to commit? How will the basic sciences and clinical translational research efforts be complementary? Finite resources can limit infinite potential. So how shall we embrace change to realize our full potential? In our clinical and translational research, partnerships with UMass Memorial Healthcare and Bay State Health and our other clinical affiliates will be essential. Recognizing that reality requires that we be mindful that the operation and management of clinical systems in the present day are most challenging. Payers, be they public or private, offer only limited support to the academic mission of tertiary and quaternary healthcare providers, such as those that constitute academic health sciences centers. Being essential safety net providers raises additional issues, mainly because our faculty and caregivers provide care to those most in need, while our entities are reimbursed far less than the cost of that care which is provided. Our ability to take utmost advantage of digital health opportunities, to provide care in settings other than inpatient facilities, to maximize the clinical and research application of data that exists in the medical records and data lakes of our affiliates, to apply artificial intelligence to assist in clinical care and research, to offer high-touch care in primary care settings, to obtain the high-intensity technology essential for the care of our patients, to assure the well-being of our caregivers. All of these are challenges that we'll face in the years ahead. Clearly, we shall need to take stock of the resources we will require. and the plans we'll need to implement to assure that we provide optimal care for those for whom it is our privilege to support. Now, in order to maximize resources to support our most important mission areas, it's imperative that we chart a future where our operations run as efficiently and effectively as possible. Because our university is unique among health sciences universities in the nation, a successful future will require us to comprehensively review our business practices and to integrate back office functions when possible and appropriate. Given the concentration of efforts that exists at MassBiologics and Commonwealth Medicine, I have asked each of those entities to develop plans as we're doing at the medical school. The guiding principles that we develop to assist with the medical school planning shall be relevant to MassBiologics and Commonwealth Medicine. Because these entities exist within our academic structures and are supportive thereof, they shall develop strategic plans in concert with our school efforts, and those plans shall be incorporated into our overall 2025 plan. The medical school is an integral member of a very large university system. So too, we share this campus with our clinical partner. These realities provide unique opportunities for shared savings. Those who have the responsibility to steward the financial aspects of our organizations shall be asked to develop plans to maximize resources in support of our mission. As Harry Truman said, it's amazing what can be accomplished when we don't focus on who gets the credit. I encourage all of you who are integral to this planning process to explore the possible and not to be tethered to the current condition. Often I wonder what it must be like to be a member of our local community, but not part of our institution, to drive by our thriving campus and, while gazing at our structures, wonder what must be doing within these walls. I'm sure there must be some envy. I imagine how they're thinking how lucky we are to be part of such an exciting and dynamic medical school. I imagine, too, being thousands of miles from here and being treated with our rabies monoclonal antibody or being dosed with nevirapine. What must it be like to wake up in Liberia and yearn to be a clinician, or to study in China, hoping to be admitted to our graduate school and to be selected as a Lee Weibo Scholar? While we may not recognize it each day, the reach of our medical school is quite profound. There are folks across the globe who are watching what we do and how we do it. There are philanthropists far and wide who want to invest in our science and compassionate use protocols. There are people everywhere who can benefit from our science, our healthcare innovation, and our intellect. But the reality is challenging. Some students in the Worcester community do not attend school because they don't have clean clothes. We provide washers and dryers to their schools to promote their learning as well as their human dignity. Some students have a hard time studying in the Worcester schools because they're hungry. We send them home with a bag of groceries from the food pantries we stock and maintain. Some students in Worcester need tutoring and role models. We infuse the North Quadrant and North Technical High School with our talent, showing our hometown students that their hopes can become expectations. As we look to the future, we must assess how we can make a greater impact on our local and global communities. One can walk, although it's more difficult without shoes. Imagine those who want to walk but have no feet. One can smile, although it's more difficult to be happy when one is hungry. Imagine those who want to eat but have no water that is clean in which to prepare their food. One can hope, although it's more difficult to dream when serious illness strikes. Imagine those who aspire for a better future but have no vaccinations, medicines, or routine care in the present. An institution can make a difference, but it's more difficult to elevate the human condition at home and abroad without a strategic direction. Imagine, if you will, how UMass Medical School can make a positive difference in our local and global communities with a clear and inspiring plan. Which brings me back to my friend Dan. There was a time after several years when it became clear to me that Dan's health was failing rapidly. He kept to a routine of coffee, church, liquid nutritional drinks, and short visits, never veering far from his apartment. I suggested more tests and encouraged him to seek other opinions at other hospitals. But the few times I brought up these suggestions, Dan refused. I quickly realized that the best thing I could do for him was just to be with him as I had been, to sit alongside him and honor his humanity by listening to him express his fears, his concerns, his hopes, to be his healthcare advocate when required, to guarantee his dignity as he lived his final days, as he had all his others, on his own terms, to be present for him, to bear witness to a life that was well lived, a life that belonged to an ostensibly vanilla kind of guy, someone who was pure and simple, but far from ordinary. You see, because Dan had become my friend. He had also been a husband, a father, a grandfather, a parishioner, a co-worker, a golfing buddy, a neighbor. Each person is more than any other person sees. One night when Dan was too tired for a visit, I told him I'd call him in the morning. And in the morning, I called and called, and there was no answer. I became worried. Surely he must have gone to the doctor, or perhaps he was avoiding the call because he knew that I would push to have him seen. To admit, it was a long morning. Shortly after noon, I received a call from his daughter, who only knew me from the stories that her father had relayed. That morning, she couldn't reach him either. So she ventured to his apartment to find that Dan had died in his sleep. But he had left a note. Please call Dr. Collins when I die and tell him that he was my friend. As I said earlier, Dan gave me so much more than I had given him. He allowed me to fulfill my dream. For years, I wanted to be a Dr. Collins. I wanted the opportunity to care for those in need and to be a respected member of my community by becoming Walpole's local medical doctor. Well, as you know, I took a right turn or two and spent most of my career carrying out administrative responsibilities with which I feel privileged to have been entrusted. But Dan reminded me how truly great it is to be a physician. As doctors and nurses, we have the opportunity to be with people at some of the most consequential times in their lives. They tell us their most intimate secrets and share with us their greatest fears. We're given the chance to apply our intellect, often in very emotionally charged situations, and in so doing, to earn a living as professionals in service to others. Ours is a high calling and a most fulfilling way to live. But our profession and our colleagues are under siege. We know that there are great pressures on all of us in the health professions. It's not that easy to serve the needs of others each and every day. It's difficult to bear under the pressure of the intensity of our patients' needs. As we envision a new future, We must create a part of our plan that assures that we take care of each other as well as our patients. We must plan to support our colleagues at all stages of their careers. I've spoken of the sine wave of emotion that envelops our students. They strive for years to be admitted to our schools. And then after they're here, after orientation is behind them, they're repeatedly tested and evaluated and then slip down the curve toward the challenges that await them with step one, qualifying exams and nursing boards. They're then stimulated by their laboratory and clinical experiences and rise up the wave en route to the match, their first jobs, postdocs, or other responsibilities. There's unbridled joy at commencement. But a few weeks later, first-year residency and new clinical responsibilities hit, and once again they slide down the curve, often in despair and fatigue. Fellowships and clinical responsibilities follow, and now we know that too many in our profession feel depleted and drained by their clinical practice settings and the realities of day-to-day practice. As we plan for the future of our medical school, I hope that you'll remember my friend Dan and find others like him in your own careers, those who are appreciative simply for your presence, your time, your reliability, your advocacy, your respect, those who remind you how wonderful it is to be a clinician. As we plan for the future, let us teach and recreate our curriculum with the commitment of Janet Hale and recognize that interprofessional education will be an imperative hallmark of the future. As we plan for the future, let us approach scientific investigation like Kate Fitzgerald and work collaboratively and collegially in our efforts to make discoveries that will change the course of the history of disease. As we plan for the future, let us care for our patients with the precision, passion, and principle of Theo Meyer, and assure our patients that we shall be with them at each and every moment of their need. As we plan for the future, let us serve our medical school and community like Bob Baldur, and recognize that in service to others, we give so much more than we give. It's with enormous gratitude that I stand before you, knowing that together we shall face our future. I hope that you're empowered by the experiences you have shared with those for whom you have cared or mentored. I thank you in advance for all that you will do in service to others as we plan ahead. In so doing, I ask that all of us recognize the importance of the gifts and opportunities that have been given to us. An exciting future awaits, and I cannot await to experience it with you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Provost Dean Terry Flott, and it's my privilege now to transition us to the Investiture Ceremony. We turn now to our 17th annual Investiture Ceremony, in which we will invest with endowed chairs some of our most accomplished faculty and recognize the visionary support of our donors who make these invaluable endowments possible. As we begin our ceremony, it gives me great pleasure to welcome and acknowledge Trustee Norman Peters, representing our university's Board of Trustees. Norm, thank you for all that you do in furtherance of our university and this medical school. I would also like to welcome Dr. Michael Gustafson, the new president of UMass Memorial Medical Center. We look forward to a long and productive partnership in service to our patients, our learners, and our community. Each year that I have had the privilege to serve as Dean and Provost, it has seemed as though this ceremony in particular has taken on greater relevance and meaning. This is a time of great excitement at UMass, as each year's accomplishments seem to surpass those of the prior year. As Chancellor Collins mentioned, we were particularly delighted this year to witness the FDA approval of Spinraza, an Ionis Biogen RNA drug for spinal muscular atrophy based on technology developed here at UMass Medical School in the laboratory of Dr. Elliot Androphy, then in the Department of Medicine. And patisiran, or Onpattro, an siRNA drug for amyloidosis based on Phil Zamore's technology and developed by the company he co-founded, Alnylam Therapeutics. Both of these approvals were the direct outgrowth of Dr. Mello's Nobel Prize-winning discovery of RNA interference and are fully aligned with the initiatives in RNA therapeutics and gene therapy that were initiated here in the immediate aftermath of that 2006 Nobel Prize. This same year has witnessed, as the Chancellor mentioned, the commercial approval of 2 antibody-based therapies from MassBiologics, a division of UMass Medical School. These therapies, Zimplava and Rabishield, target C. diff disease and rabies respectively, and are meeting unmet medical needs here at home and around the world. But even after all these successes, the most coveted resources that we have are our faculty. And the most important way that we recognize our most talented faculty is with an endowed chair. In order to establish an endowed chair, a benefactor makes a strategic and substantial gift that binds the donor and the institution together in perpetuity. As a donor's gift demonstrates confidence in and commitment to UMass Medical School, so too does our medical school make a powerful statement of support to the faculty member selected for the particular endowed chair. The donor invests in our institution, which enables us to invest in a stellar faculty member who may use the annual unrestricted proceeds from the endowment to further cutting-edge research and scholarship. Each year, Investiture captures the profoundly important role of this special group of benefactors in contributing to the medical school's global reach, which Chancellor Collins underscored in his convocation address. Our success, past, present, and future, has been and will continue to be predicated upon this partnership. At this event, we celebrate the exponential power of partnership and the role our donors play in helping our medical school in Worcester play an outsized role in the world. By celebrating the faculty members who are joining the august ranks of our named professors and the most generous donors who establish the endowed positions, we are espousing the value and virtue of that partnership. And particularly this year, there is much to celebrate. By the end of the festivities today, we will have invested 4 new faculty members into endowed chairs, which is very exciting. In total, the number of endowed chairs at UMass Medical School will increase to 49, a tremendous achievement when considering that more than 20 new endowed chairs have been established in the past decade alone. Since this tenure started nearly 12 years ago, the Chancellor has placed a strategic focus on securing as many new endowed chairs commitments from our leading donors as possible. To our 4 newest endowed chairs, allow me to be the first to congratulate you on a wonderful professional achievement. To our entire group of 49 endowed chairs here before me, many of whom join us today, thank you. Thank you for being compelling ambassadors for the state's world-class public medical school. And to all the donors who are participating in today's events, please know that your tremendous generosity demonstrates in a public and powerful way your confidence in our faculty and your commitment to our most promising future. Thank you for partnering with us together as we help to realize the full promise of UMass Medical School. And I now have the great pleasure to invite Chancellor Collins back to the lectern to proceed with the investments.
We begin this afternoon's ceremony by investing Dr. Jane Friedman as the Edward Budnitz, MD, Professor in Cardiovascular Medicine. Dr. Friedman and Dr. John Keeney, would you please come forward? Mentor and role model for the next generation of scientists and physicians, seeker of insight into cardiac and circulatory disorders, and importantly, healer. Dr. Jane Friedman, the University of Massachusetts Medical School, is privileged to recognize you today for the heart you bring to your teaching, research, and patient care. As a distinguished member of our faculty, you've made significant contributions to the educational mission of our medical school as co-director for the Advanced Biomedical and Translational Science course. A productive researcher since the very start of your career, you have continued to earn honors and continuous support from the National Institutes of Health and other funders to advance your research to treat and cure cardiovascular disease. In your research that examines the role of immunity, infection, and inflammation on atherothrombotic disease, you've made significant discoveries with implications for improved treatments. As director of the High Throughput Gene Expression and Biomarker Core Lab, you are harnessing state-of-the-art tools to study gene expression and to provide translational data for your own work and collaboratively for the labs of your colleagues. Through your involvement in the historic Framingham Heart Study as a member of the steering committee for the study's Systems Approach to Biomarker Research and Cardiovascular Disease project, and as director of a project studying a complete profile of microRNA expression in thousands of study participants, you're gleaning insights from generations of patient data to develop blood tests for the detection and prevention of heart disease. While your lab pursues new and innovative discoveries to ease the burden of cardiovascular disease across the population, you provide personalized care for patients in your clinical practice, where you build a bridge from the bench to the bedside as Director of Translational Research. Dr. Jane Friedman, your many significant contributions to the Department of Medicine at the University of Massachusetts Medical School and cardiovascular medicine at large, it's a privilege to invest you as the new recipient of the Edward Budnitz, MD, Professor in Cardiovascular Medicine. Receive this medallion as a symbol of our respect and admiration for your tireless commitment to advancing cardiovascular medicine research. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Chancellor Collins, Dean Flood, Dr. Keeney, and thank you, esteemed faculty, friends, and family who are here to share this honor with me today. I'd also like to thank the family, friends, and patients of Dr. Budnitz who established this chair back in 1980, which is really shortly after the first medical school class graduated from the University of Massachusetts. It was established because of his compassionate care that was grounded in outstanding research and science. My own journey into research was shortly after this chair was established. But it was during my college years, and it was actually not in the biological sciences. As a freshman at Yale University, I actually began as an architecture and geology major. And my first research experience was in the laboratory of the famed paleontologist, Dr. John Ostrom, who famously and innovatively figured out that dinosaurs were more like birds and many were warm-blooded. And I had an outstanding experience. And yes, for those of you noting what my majors were, I did fulfill every 5-year-old's academic dream of both building with blocks and playing with dinosaurs. Now, the experience with Dr. Ostrom, beyond making it so I was really, really good at measuring the nostril cavities of dinosaur skulls, in addition to that skill, this experience taught me something else. During the 1980s, there were a lot of naysayers about Dr. Ostrom's particular theory. A lot of people didn't believe it, and he was later vindicated when they discovered dinosaurs with feathers in China, but this was many years after I was a college student. And I noticed during this time, despite the fact that many people didn't believe what he was saying, he had conviction in his data, conviction in his results, maintained his creative expression of science, and always backed everything up with strong data and just very, very careful outlook at what he was exploring at any given moment. And I like to think that I took these tenets and these observations and extended them to my own research. My own final foray into biological research didn't actually occur much longer after that. It was the year before I went to medical school. And I still remember my very first day as a research assistant. I was sent up to the hospital, to the CCU, and I was told to get a vial of blood from a man in the throes of having a heart attack. I was immediately enthralled when I went up there. Why was this man having a heart attack? What was it about this man that was different than the patient in the next room, or different than the person walking down the street or myself? And after that, I devoted myself to understanding what causes the occlusions in blood vessels and how that leads to all sorts of disease. And for many years, was very devoted to studying the basic mechanisms of these diseases. So after many years of really investigating mechanisms of diseases of thrombosis, we decided with my wonderful people in my laboratory, who obviously are the entire reason everything has happened. I'd love to take credit for everything, but they are what makes the wheels on the bus turn for sure. We expanded our research and those of many others into looking at a bigger data approach. Is what we were finding mechanistically relevant in larger human populations? And we established a laboratory that would generate big data, collaborate with universities all over the country and the world in furthering our observations and observations of other people. And some of that included studying in large populations all sorts of non-coding research. And these studies are what led me to the University of Massachusetts. I have to say, for the few people in this room who are not from the University of Massachusetts, I have, I think, probably a somewhat unique insight. I may be the only person in this room who has either worked or trained at every medical school in the state of Massachusetts and essentially all of the major medical centers in the greater Boston area. And I can tell you with experience and confidence that this medical center is unique. The leadership has established a culture of collaboration and support that is unique compared to all the other places I've journeyed through. And this collaboration and supportive environment is also embraced by its faculty, and it's really astounding when you move from someplace else to here. And this culture is what has led over the last 7.5 years to my work growing in impact and outreach in exponential ways, and I'm very grateful to the university for having provided that to me. In closing, I would just like to thank people. I'd like to thank the leadership who have always been there and been supportive. I'd like to thank John, who has been there with me for many decades and was the first one to read my K Award and the only one to read my K Award, and I credit him a huge amount of help in my being here. My clinical colleagues, here represented by Thea right in front of me, who are incredibly supportive and wonderful. I also, again, have to thank the people in my laboratory. I want to thank my family and my friends. I'd like to thank my friends who are here today. And of course, my family, my wonderful husband, Mark, who has been incredibly patient and supportive, and my 3 lovely children, Hannah, David, and Rebecca, who are represented by Hannah today. They are the loves of my life. And last but not least, I would like to thank my parents, Joel and Naomi Friedman, who are here today and have always supported me no matter what I was up to, whether it was medicine, science, drawing, or playing with dinosaurs. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Friedman. Now it's a wonderful pleasure to invest Dr. Jonathan M. Gerber as the Eleanor Eustace Farrington Chair in Cancer Research. Dr. Gerber and Dean Flott, would you please join me at the podium? Devoted caregiver, impassioned investigator, and pioneer in the treatment of hematologic conditions, Dr. Jonathan M. Gerber, it's a privilege for the University of Massachusetts Medical School to recognize you today. After beginning your career at Johns Hopkins, most recently you led the Leukemia Division in the Department of Hematologic Oncology and Blood Disorders at the Levine Cancer Institute of the highly regarded Carolinas Healthcare System. In this role, you invested yourself wholly to building and leading an exceptional clinical service that reflected your vision, values, and unyielding commitment to providing patients with the highest standard of care and the highest level of respect. You understand that to make history in cancer care and research, you must be bold in your vision, purposeful in your actions, confident in your abilities, and relentless in achieving your goals. As a key member of the clinical team that successfully performed the first allogeneic bone marrow transplant in an adult in Charlotte, North Carolina's history, you have demonstrated both the vision and fortitude to work at the leading edge of your field on behalf of your patients. So too has your research centered on your patients. By seeking to improve the identification and target of stem cells at the root of leukemia and other clonal hematologic diseases, you have developed an innovative assay to detect leukemia stem cells, which was granted a U.S. patent in 2015 and has since been translated into a clinical trial. While your reputation and renown in clinical oncology is impressive, it is your foundational commitment to your patients that distinguishes you among your peers. You are driven to contribute to a new future in which therapies are more easily personalized, therefore making them far more effective and far less toxic for patients most in need. Intuitively, you understand that when research and innovation are inspired by the comfort and well-being of the patient, progress knows no bounds. Dr. Jonathan M. Gerber, it is with deep respect and admiration for your pioneering work in improving cancer care and treatments that we invest you as the Eleanor Eustace Farrington Chair in Cancer Research. Receive this medallion as a sign of the high esteem we have for you as a physician scientist and the confidence we have in you to elevate the breadth and depth of our cancer research and care efforts here at UMass. Congratulations. Okay.
Chancellor Collins and Dean Flott, thank you very, very much. I appreciate how welcoming everyone has been to the ranks of the faculty here, and truly a unique institution. I think as Dr. Friedman mentioned, I've never seen another place like this with the collegiality, the collaboration, and just the sheer scientific potential. I'm certainly looking to tap that potential and bring it into the clinic over the next several years. I want to particularly thank a number of individuals, and I'll briefly talk about my circuitous route here. But first and foremost, I want to thank my wife, Lisa. If anyone ever saw the episode of Everybody Loves Raymond where he forgot to thank his wife when he received his award, I want to not repeat that mistake. So she is truly the love of my life, the best partner anyone could ever think of, and a true saint. And I want to thank her for all of her support. I want to thank each of my kids, Will and Gracie, make me proud every day. I want to thank my parents, Arnold and Deborah Gerber, who pushed me along and helped me find the right path along the way. I want to thank my grandparents, Howard Glazer and Leah Glazer, who also supported my medical school and college educations and allowed me to get to this point in life. And I want to thank a number of mentors over 23 years at Johns Hopkins, more than half my life. I have a number of them to thank, and I won't mention them all by name, but I will single out two. Randy Nelson, who was my first preceptor, my first mentor, and in whose lab I actually met my wife. It was a behavioral endocrinology lab in the Department of Psychology, and a far, far cry from where I am today, but definitely introduced me to research, which I pursued from my freshman year onward. I also want to thank John Fetting, who was my first clinical preceptor. I followed him around, not sure if I wanted to go to medical school or not, and found that I actually loved it. He was an oncologist, and after a bit of a roundabout way, finally found my way into the right field. When I graduated medical school, I actually started in orthopedic surgery. I might be the only hematologist in the world that first started out as an orthopedic surgeon. I think I'm the only one who ever did a Halstead internship and an OSA residency. But great experience and things that have come in handy over the years. I also want to thank my mentor, Rick Jones, who welcomed me into his lab and was very giving of his time and funding. It was while in his lab that, doing my own cell sorting with a machine that would break down repeatedly, I ended up discovering a population and was able to tell the difference between leukemia stem cells and normal stem cells. And now that we can separate those, I look forward to using that fact to exploit it, to track those cells, to begin to target them, compare and contrast to find things that we may eventually be used to cure these patients with these deadly diseases. We do far too poorly, as Chancellor Collins mentioned, in treating too many of these diseases. And I think his friend Dan's story is a far too common one. Even when we're successful, it's often at the expense of terrible, terrible side effects. And so my research is focused on very much honoring the late Eleanor Eustace Farrington's directive to cure cancer with research, and in those in whom we don't cure it, to alleviate their suffering. I am very committed. I have to tell you that I am so proud of the division that I've been welcomed in to lead. We have several representatives here sitting in the audience, and truly a wonderful group of people and dedicated physicians that I think espouse that ideal of clinical care, and look forward to working with them for many years to come. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Gerber, and welcome. Next, we're privileged to invest Zhiping Wang as the inaugural holder of the Li Weibo Chair in Biomedical Research. Dr. Wang and Chairman Li Weibo, would you please join me at the podium? Dynamic, innovative, collaborative, powerful. A global leader in the science of analyzing vast quantities of biomedical data, Zhiping Wang, it's a privilege for the University of Massachusetts Medical School to recognize you today. As the founding director of this medical school's program in bioinformatics and integrative biology, you have opened our university to a groundbreaking, novel, and unique research program. Your lab's focus on the molecular mechanisms of gene regulation combines some of the most potent and compelling scientific techniques of our time. These approaches consistently elucidate how genetic variations in the human population affect our susceptibility to disease. In short, answers from your lab spark countless new scientific questions. This cycle and your role within it represent the very heart of modern biomedical research. Indeed, your willingness to collaborate is ubiquitous. You've become an internationally renowned and sought-after collaborator, in part due to your role leading data analysis for the ENCODE Consortium, an integrated encyclopedia of DNA elements in the human genome. To understand the transformative appeal and primacy of your work, we need only refer to your hundreds of peer-reviewed publications to glean a sense of your purpose, passion, and commitment. Indeed, timing has proven fortuitous. Just a few years ago, much of this work was inconceivable. The Human Genome Project has unleashed a tidal wave of data and possibility. And we at this medical school are grateful that we may rely on your scientific prowess to apply order and understanding where it has not previously existed. Dr. Zhiping Wang, it is with deep admiration and optimism for your future contributions to human health and scientific understanding that we invest you as the first Li Weibo Chair in Biomedical Research. Receive this medallion as a symbol of the highest regard we have for your work translating biomedical data into medical breakthroughs. Congratulations. Astute businessman, dedicated humanitarian, transformative philanthropist, treasured friend. Li Weibo, chairman of China's Glory Harvest Group and founder of the Li Weibo Foundation. It is a privilege to welcome you to our medical school today. In you, the University of Massachusetts Medical School has found a long-term committed partner who shares our keen vision to transform the course of the history of human disease. Through your charitable foundation, you have selflessly pledged to donate half of your wealth to improve the lives and well-being of the people and their communities, large and small, near and far. With you, we are united by a profound desire to help others. The establishment of the Li Weibo Chair in Biomedical Research will allow Dr. Zhiping Wang and her colleagues to advance the understanding of biological systems and to offer new pathways to treat human disease. It is the most recent demonstration of your generous support for our institution. Indeed, your previous gifts, which are among the largest philanthropic contributions in the history of our medical school, established one of the nation's first rare diseases institutes that has already catalyzed the scientific efforts of more than 40 biomedical researchers, bringing them together in innovative new ways to unravel the particular mysteries of rare diseases. Your trust and confidence inspire our world-class scientific community. Your generosity and commitment provide hope to those most in need. Patients and families from all around the world who struggle with the impact of rare diseases. That you have empowered us to work on their behalf motivates, galvanizes, and heartens us. We humbly extend our appreciation to you for the privilege of your friendship and the outpouring of generosity that will help mankind. Please accept a small gift as a token of our enduring gratitude to you for investing in this place, our programs, and most especially our people. Please accept our gratitude.
Thank you. Good afternoon. First, I would like to thank Chairman Li for his generous gift to UMass Medical School. I met Mr. Li a year ago at a dinner at the Chancellor's house. and he has impressed all of us with his energy, wit, business acumen, courage, commitment to science and medicine, devotion to healthcare, and his trust in us. He started his enterprise from absolutely scratch and brought it to extraordinary heights, and there is so much we can learn from him. I look forward to the great things that we will do partnering with Chairman Lee. I'm also very grateful to Chancellor Collins and Dean Flott for bestowing me the honor today. I'm honored and motivated by this award. These two visionary leaders have guided UMass Medical School through an extraordinary ascent in the past 10 years, as I have witnessed with my own eyes. Because of them, I'm surrounded by brilliant colleagues, and they have taught me so much that I feel like I've been smarter in the past 10 years, and it must be true. I thank them for stimulating collaborations, endearing friendship, and unwavering support. I wouldn't have been here today without my PhD advisor, Charles DeLisi. Charles is the Metcalf Professor of Science and Engineering and the Dean Emeritus at Boston University. When he was director of the US Department of Energy's Health and Environmental Research Programs, Charles and his advisor proposed and planned the Human Genome Project. And in 1986, they successfully defended the project in front of the US Congress. Because of Charles, I entered the exciting field of genomics and computational biology. Charles has inspired me to become an innovative scientist and a supportive mentor for my own students. In addition to having a job I love, I'm very blessed with a wonderful family. With me today is my steadfast husband, Xin, who has always been there for me, and my 12-year-old daughter, Zoe, and my 10-year-old son, Zach, who have drastically changed my outlook on life. Thank you for your love and support, and for all the fun things we have been able to pursue together. At the end, I would like to say a few words about my research, which has earned me the honor today. As the Chancellor said, I develop and apply computational and statistical methods to study a variety of biological problems. As you all know, each of the cells in our body has the same genome. But how this genome is expressed in response to developmental and environmental cues provides the diversity for life. So my research is focused on performing computational analyses and integration on the vast amount of genomic, epigenomic data to decipher the regulatory mechanisms of gene regulation. So notably, I'm heading the data analysis effort of the International ENCODE Consortium, whose goal is to decipher the regulatory programs in the human genome. I'm also leading the data analysis effort of the PsycENCODE Consortium, whose goal is to understand how the dysregulation of gene expression in the brain leads to psychiatric disorders. Very importantly, I'm blessed with a group of brilliant and incredibly hardworking students. Without them, none of the progress would have been possible. And now, thanks to Chairman Lee's generous gift, we can look forward to an even greater impact on biomedical science and medicine in the future. 谢谢你. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wang. To conclude the formal part of today's investiture ceremony, I'm so pleased now to invest Dr. Jason M. Showett as the new Allie and John Pearce Chair in Pediatric Hematology Oncology. Dr. Showett and Ms. Ling Pearce, would you please join me at the podium? Jason, if you would stand there. Anna, how are you? Committed pediatrician, engaged and empathic caregiver, tireless physician scientist. Jason Showett, it's a privilege for the University of Massachusetts Medical School to recognize you today. You've joined our community because you share our commitment to harness the power of science to cure disease. From the moment you accepted your first position in academic medicine, your research has had an exquisite focus on the genetic origins of cancer and blood disease. Your caring and compassion for your patients has been at the forefront of all you do. Indeed, it's especially fitting that you'll hold the endowed chair named to honor the memory of Allie Pearce and her father John, who believed in the power and promise of cancer research to offer hope and healing to patients. Since you began your academic career at Baylor College of Medicine and Texas Children's Hospital, you have made many important contributions to the study of disease. Your research into the causes of and treatments for neuroblastoma give both the gift of hope and the promise of help to children and their families. As support for your work and honors for your achievements have accrued, you have kept your optimism for a future when pediatric cancers are managed and treatments are widely available, well tolerated, and above all, effective. We join the Center for Blood Research, the Children's Cancer Research Foundation, the American Cancer Society, the American Society of Pediatric and Hematology and Oncology, and many other organizations in recognizing the quality and promise of your research. Your record of scientific publication in journals such as the Journal of Biological Chemistry, Cancer Research, Oncogene Plus One, and Molecular Oncology speak to the influence your work has had on the field. Dr. Jason Showett, for your exceptional research and the extraordinary qualities of leadership you have shown in your career, it's an honor to invest you as the next Allie and John Pearce Chair of Pediatric Hematology Oncology. Receive this medallion as a symbol acknowledging our gratitude for your unyielding commitment to care for and about our youngest and most vulnerable patients. Congratulations. Congratulations. Ling Pearce, it's a privilege to welcome you home to your medical school today. Your journey has been unimaginable. Yet for more than 20 years, you have shown us that the human capacity for grace, for commitment, and for courage is in some rare people limitless. You're one of those rarities, someone who has turned great sadness into great action. When your family lost your daughter, Allie, to cancer in 1996, you resisted the urge to turn inward in grief. Instead, you and your husband, John, and sons JT and Mike set out to create something to help others. Allie's Army was born. No one could be prepared for John's passing less than a year later while training for the Boston Marathon. No one, perhaps, but you could turn such loss into something as meaningful and poignantly inspired as Allie and Dad's Army. Your effort and the commitment you and your family made have meant literally the world to children who, like Allie, face long odds in the battle against childhood cancer. Because of you, and because of your willingness to turn a mother's love and wife's commitment into a cause, pediatric cancer research and treatment is a world away from where it was 2 decades ago. And the University of Massachusetts Medical School is able today to welcome to its faculty one of the great scientists and caregivers in the field. The Allan and John Pearce Chair of Pediatric Hematology Oncology, with its focus on research and clinical care for pediatric cancer and blood diseases, is bestowed on the faculty leader who serves as Division Chief of Pediatric Hematology Oncology at our medical school. With your commitment, caring, and love, we're fortunate to recognize Dr. Jason Shoah today. Anna Pearce, on behalf of our entire community, please accept our institution's sincerest gratitude for the support, confidence, and commitment you and your family have placed in the University of Massachusetts Medical School. Thank you.
I'm not sure how I follow that. First, I'd like to thank all my friends and family who are here. Their support means the world to me, and I can't say enough about that. I'd like to thank Chancellor Collins for the exceptionally kind words, and I hope I can live up to at least a part of that. I thank Dean Flott for all the support he has shown during my recruitment to the University of Massachusetts Medical School from the Texas Children's Cancer Center in Houston. I especially want to thank today Peter Neuberger, whose shoes I'm attempting to fill as the new Division Chief in Pediatric Oncology. Dr. Neuberger is a remarkable clinician scientist who, for almost 30 years, has led a small group of dedicated clinicians, ensuring that we provide the absolute best care to our cancer and hematology patients here in central Massachusetts. It was immediately clear to me that this is a place where every patient is treated just as if they were our own children. This approach is a central tenet of my primary chief clinical mentor over the years, Dr. David Poplack, who until recently directed the program in Texas. Of course, I might have been particularly sensitive to this family-centric message, as David is also my mother's youngest brother. And as my uncle, he never missed an opportunity to remind me and emphasize these points at work and at home. Thank you, David, for setting me up for success. Another primary principle I brought from Texas is an obligation to improve the outcomes for pediatric cancer through persistent and innovative cancer research. Over the past 2 decades, my research has focused on understanding neuroblastoma, a particularly aggressive pediatric cancer. This cancer strikes children who are typically less than 2 years of age and still requires intensive, highly toxic chemotherapy for cure. Despite such treatment, only about half of these children live more than 5 years after diagnosis. This is an unacceptable result, regardless of how you view it. However, even this 50% survival represents a dramatic improvement of outcomes from when I completed my fellowship in 1999. As a real-life demonstration of this improvement in outcome, the recent accrual of 65 children to a national children's oncology group protocol to study the late effects of treatment in survivors of neuroblastoma just opened. In 1999, when I finished my fellowship, this would have been completely unfeasible due to lack of children to enroll. While providing hope, these data also motivate my research and drive me back to the lab. Clearly, there's a long way to go to cure this terrible pediatric cancer. Despite these challenges, it's an incredibly exciting time to be involved in cancer research, and I'm exceptionally fortunate for the opportunity to work here at University of Massachusetts Medical School. With access to amazing cutting-edge technology, a faculty that is replete with world-renowned scientists, Nobel Prize winners, and tremendous collaborators. Advances in genomics, computational and molecular biology, and immunology are all contributing to a revolution in our understanding of cancer biology and cancer treatment. Most importantly, such insights are rapidly moving to the clinic with truly remarkably active, new, innovative cancer therapies. Examples include a recent immunotherapy in pediatrics, immunotherapy trial for relapsed leukemia that was closed early due to astounding treatment responses in over 70% of these children. These are patients who had leukemia that was otherwise completely resistant to standard therapy and basically had no option. 70% of them went into remission. Other examples include novel personalized treatment protocols that select effective targeted drug therapies based on real-time genomic sequencing data from individual patient samples. These are just a few examples of treatments that even 3 or 4 years ago would be very difficult to imagine bringing directly to the clinic. I know Dean Flott and Chancellor Collins are working hard to support and further develop a remarkable translational research infrastructure here at University of Massachusetts Medical School, and I hope my contributions will lead to novel therapies to cure children with pediatric cancers. Lastly, there are several people I need to acknowledge. I'm extremely fortunate for all of my family, and especially I want to acknowledge my parents who are here today. An added benefit of moving to the East Coast is that my wife and I get to spend more time with them on the beach relaxing. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Finally, I need to thank Anna Ling Pearce. Although I really don't think words are sufficient. As you heard, Anna lost her daughter to liver cancer at age 14, and shortly thereafter, tragically lost her husband. Since that time, they have generously and tirelessly worked to endow the John and Allie Pediatric Oncology Chair and to support Dr. Neuberger's research and now mine. I'm truly humbled and honored to receive this chair, which represents the memory of both Allie and John Pearce. It also represents their commitment to advance pediatric cancer research and treatments to cure childhood cancers. Anna, I have no words to offer to you for your sacrifice and support other than my most heartfelt gratitude and thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Showett, and welcome to you, the University of Massachusetts. Ours is a most special community defined by a collaborative spirit and characterized by individuals who excel in their endeavors, whether they be in education, research, patient care, or philanthropy, as in the case of our generous donors. The support of our benefactors is most vividly demonstrated through our stellar group of named professors who collectively exemplify the excellence of our institution. I'd like to now take this opportunity to recognize our 49 named professors, many of whom are here today in our audience. I'm going to ask that each stand when I call their name, turn and face the audience, and remain standing until all have been called. And I'm going to ask the audience to please hold your applause until the end. The names are called in the order in which the endowment was established. Dr. Terence R. Flott, the Celia and Isaac Haydack Professor of Medical Education. Dr. Robert W. Finberg, the Richard M. Haydack Professor of Medicine. Dr. Anthony J. Rothschild, the Irving S. and Betty Brudnick Chair in Psychiatry. Dr. David M. Harlan, the William and Doris Krupp Professor of Medicine. Dr. George B. Whitman III, the George F. Booth Chair in the Basic Sciences. Dr. Jonathan M. Gerber, MD, the Eleanor Eustace Farrington Chair in Cancer Research. Dr. David C. Ayers, the Arthur M. Pappas, MD Chair in Orthopedics. Dr. Roger J. Davis, the H. Arthur Smith Chair in Cancer Research. Dr. Thoreau Peterson, the Vitold Arnett Professor of Cell Biology. Dr. Jane E. Friedman, the Edward Budnitz, MD Professor of Cardiovascular Medicine. Dr. Allan S. Jacobson, the Gerald L. Haydack and Zelda S. Haydack Professor of Cell Biology. Dr. Michael R. Green, the Lambie and Sarah Adams Chair in Genetic Research. Dr. Justin Makel, the Gladys Smith Martin Chair in Oncology. Dr. Judith K. O'Keefe, the Barbara Helen Smith Chair in Preventive and Behavioral Medicine. Dr. Neil Aronin, the Higgins Family Professor of Neuroscience. Dr. Ira S. O'Keefe, the David J. and Barbara D. Milliken Professor of Preventive Cardiology. Dr. Craig C. Mello, the Blaise University Chair in Molecular Medicine. Dr. Jean A. Frazier, the Robert M. and Shirley S. Siff Chair in Autism. Dr. Jason M. Showett, the Allie and John Pearce Chair in Pediatric Hematology Oncology. Dr. Heather Campbell Forkey, the Joy McCann Professor for Women in Medicine. Dr. Michael P. Check, the Isidore and Fanny Foxman Chair in Medical Research. Dr. Guangping Gao, the Penelope Booth Chair, Rockwell Chair in Biomedical Research. Dr. John F. Keeney Jr., the Mary C. DeFutis Chair in Biomedical Research. Dr. Katerina I. Kiefer, the Melvin S. and Sandra L. Cutler Chair in Biomedical Research. Dr. Dale L. Greiner, the Dr. Eileen L. Berman and Stanley I. Berman Foundation Chair in Biomedical Research. Dr. Ellen M. Gravelisi, the Miles J. McDonough Chair in Rheumatology. Dr. Sylvia Corvera, the Endowed Chair in Diabetes Research. Dr. Vivian Budnick, the Worcester Foundation for Biomedical Research Chair. Dr. Douglas T. Golenbach, the Pillar Chair in Biomedical Research. Dr. Catherine Ruiz de Zuriaga, the UMass Memorial Healthcare Chair in Biomedical Research. Dr. Joel D. Richter, the Arthur F. Koskinis Chair in Neuroscience. Dr. Catherine A. Fitzgerald, the Worcester Foundation for Biomedical Research Chair. Dr. Jonathan Kay, the Timothy S. and Elaine L. Peterson Chair in Rheumatology. Dr. Job Decker, the Joseph J. Byrne Chair in Biomedical Research. Dr. Fenbao Gao, the Governor Paul Cellucci Chair in Neuroscience Research. Dr. Brian Silver, the Endowed Chair in Neuroscience Research. Dr. Mark Johnson, the Maroon Saman Chair in Neurosurgery. Dr. Marianne Walhu, the Maroon Saman Chair in Biomedical Research. And Dr. Jiping Wang, the Li Weibo Chair in Biomedical Research. Congratulations to all of you. Indeed, we're privileged to have all of you with us this afternoon. At an institution as important as ours, it's essential that we recognize those whose generosity allows us to realize our full potential and those whose ingenuity and intellect allow us to fulfill our mission. In the future, I look forward to these opportunities to celebrate new members of our faculty appointed to named professorships and the generous donors who make the appointments possible. This concludes our 2018 Convocation and Investiture Ceremony. To all those in attendance, please join us for a reception upstairs in the cube. I would like to ask all our guests to remain seated while our endowed chairs and medal recipients recess out. As is our custom, last year's recipient of the Chancellor's Medal for Distinguished Service, Dr. Michael Hirsch, will now transfer the university mace to this year's recipient, Dr. Bob Baldur, who will have the honor to lead our recessional. Dr. Baldur, when ready, it is time for us to leave. Thank you all for being here today. To realize our full potential and those whose ingenuity and intellect allow us to fulfill our mission. In the future, I look forward to these opportunities to celebrate new members of our faculty appointed to named professorships and the generous donors who make the appointments possible. This concludes our 2018 Convocation and Investiture Ceremony. To all those in attendance, please join us for a reception upstairs in the cube. I would like to ask all our guests to remain seated while our endowed chairs and medal recipients recess out. As is our custom, last year's recipient of the Chancellor's Medal for Distinguished Service, Dr. Michael Hirsch, will now transfer the university mace to this year's recipient, Dr. Bob Baldur, who will have the honor to lead our recessional. Dr. Baldur, when ready, it is time for us to leave. Thank you all for being here today. We'll go